Uganda has long been seen as an example to the world on how to treat refugees. In this country, refugees and asylum seekers are not only given parcels of land, they're allowed to move freely and even operate businesses. Their children are allowed to integrate with the children of this place and get a free education. But how exactly did this country come to that regulation? Well, we have people here who are meeting me, the 77%ers, and I want to come straight to Jane. So how exactly did Northern Uganda specifically become a safe haven for refugees?
The proximity to South Sudan makes it very, already a destination for refugees. But looking back, Northern Uganda is also a region that is recovering from conflict. So it is easy to empathize with a people that are going through war. So you find that the people in this place are also receptive. They are glad to share what they have, because I think that many of them appreciate the fact that by the time somebody is a refugee, it was not their desire to leave their home country. Naturally, very few people would want to leave their home country to go to another country. So it's easy to empathize because of what the region itself has experienced and what the people have experienced. So I believe that that is one of the factors that makes Northern Uganda a safe haven for refugees in this context.
So it's cultural, and also the fact that this is a town where there have been survivors of war.
Absolutely.
But is that the only thing? I mean, the national policy reflects this, but not the entire country is currently surviving war.
Specifically Northern Uganda, we have suffered for over 35 years of war in this country and this region. And looking at our counterpart, people coming from South Sudan with a similar experiences, there's a great attachment that we both feel we have something to share in common. When we are to look at the socio-cultural compliances and attachment, we are not so different. Our socio-cultural aspect of it are almost the same. And that means it becomes much easier for us to offer that hospitality to whoever wishes to seek and make his or her life move ahead from the time he has been experiencing all these problems.
Okay, so it's not just surviving war, it's this idea of Africanism, of Ubuntu. But what is the policy?
The policy in Uganda, first of all, I'll not be very articulate or very specific with it, but I'll give you an overview. It's very welcoming, it's open. The refugees in Uganda are integrated in a way that they are given free movement. It's allowed for them to move freely and also to get jobs if they can find. Their children are allowed to go to the schools that are already existing in Uganda. And within the only thing that they have to do if they are living within the settlement is to seek for permission to notify the leadership that they are getting out of the settlement. And when they get back, they also do the same. So the policy is very welcoming.
We have people who are actually refugees. You've been in the country for just over 3 years, you say. How has it been for you? Why did you come to Uganda? I mean, do you even think about that before you come, or is it just circumstances?
Yes, I come from Uganda here because about war. Where's the one bring me in Uganda here? When I come in Uganda here, I take 1 year, I get challenged, but now I'm feeling better in Uganda. When I stay in Uganda 3 years, now I'm like one family in Uganda here. I was selling everything equally with the Ugandans. Now I'm one together the family.
So do you feel welcome?
Yes.
You feel welcome?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask the young people here. Your government has said that this is a country where all refugees are welcome, but you're the ones who are in the host communities. Are you okay with this? Is this cool for you guys?
Yes, of course. The refugee in Uganda are most welcome, and particularly because of the vast land. Northern Uganda, especially the Acholi community, has a very big vacant land, and it makes it so easy for us to welcome the refugees. And it is in our culture. Normally, when people come into your home and are facing problem, you give them you try to solve the problem partly if you can, and that is what the Acholis have at heart. They have pride of helping people.
Wow, this is really interesting. So you guys are actually proud of this. It's a marker of your identity that you're welcoming. So how does it feel when you see your government welcoming foreigners and saying, you know what, here's a parcel of land free of charge, here is food that you don't have to buy, here are blankets. Does that augur well with you? Does that feel like they're taking care of you in the same way that they're taking care of refugees? Anyone?
Well, to be sincere, many times if you see the government take side to help a given set of people, particularly when you realize they're coming from other countries, and as a member of that very country, sometimes the priority is not given to you. Sometimes we feel it, and we would really want that we should be taken as, in terms of anything, we should be number one. But we have been made to realize, yes. However, we have been made to realize that when we integrate them within us, opportunities like, first of all, we are given opportunity to do trade. Instead, leaders have turned to advising us to embrace the opportunity to do trade with them and see how we can reap from that. We have been told how it gives opportunities for others who attain education to also get to work with them and get something in the name of income to help them live. So, in as much as the feeling comes, we have been given the right path of how to deal with it and to actually take that as an opportunity.
Okay, so it sounds to me that there's a lot of sensitization that's been done. But Jan, I want to come back to you. You're folding your face like you have something to say to me. I mean, how does that work practically? You have a lot of students in the classroom now. They're more than the teachers can handle, and some of them don't speak the language. How does that translate practically?
The appreciation of the refugee situation means that they're in a place of emergency, and in a way, when I've interacted with one or two people, in maybe teachers or people who are dealing with students in such an area, they say, it's better for them to be in there, right? The crisis happens when you talk to people in the host communities and they are concerned that, the classes are congested, and the other have come and they are taking some of these places. And so, yes, the feeling is that, there might be an encroachment, I think, for lack of a better word, an invasion of some other people's space, but also I don't think that it downplays the willingness of the people to be hosts. It becomes a problem when it begins to feel apparent that the refugees seem to be favored more, and that comes back to what I was saying, that how much do we know about refugees? How much do we know about their rights? How much do we appreciate that it's not just Uganda having these refugees here? And how far can we go to do things better if we understand the policies, understand the position of the leaders on certain issues? Because they're human beings. Anybody could be a refugee, as we get to see how the global world is moving. So it's about a matter of putting yourself in the person's shoes and asking yourself, what would you do? You're a teacher, you have so many children coming in. Would you rather leave them out in the wild? And now the policymaker should be the one to go back and ask himself, how is this, the reality on ground, converting to the actions we committed ourselves to? And I think that's where the issue is, so if a class is full, whose responsibility is it to try and address the immediate educational needs of the people who are in there?
I actually want to go to the lady who's standing right there because we're talking about language. You're new here, you've been here for 1 year. Are you struggling because you're not speaking English or Acholi? How are you finding it to fit here?
أنا ما بقدر ونسو كله حسن كده أنا جيجيني لكن كله من ده أنا جتبي في السوق.
So you're learning by listening to people speak in the market. You're not going to school or anything. That's how you're learning.
Yes, I'm not going to the school.
Wow.
أنا ما وصلوا.
That's really interesting. Okay, so we just heard from the lady here. She says that she hasn't gone to any formal education, but she's learning the language from picking it up in the market. And I think by any means that's impressive. But we have a teacher here. You're dealing with students all the time who've come from South Sudan, different culture, different world. How is it for them to integrate?
Most especially if one comes without maybe proper knowledge of English as a medium of communication, then that may be a problem. Because to be a problem as a mean of instructions. So when you're giving instruction, they may not get it very well. But
are you being trained to do this? Because this is a whole new skill set that you need. Yeah. Have you gotten extra training for that?
For bringing them and integrating them with the system? No.
I see you nodding. Is it a job that you do as well?
I am training to be a teacher, and there is nothing like fitting in any refugees in the curriculum, in the syllabus, in the subject content, the examination. They just come in and they have to fit in themselves. And then we decide where to place them. But government initiative, no.
So the government has created this policy where they say go to school, but they haven't really thought about how they will go to school or how they will fit into these schools?
No.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Okay, incidentally, we're talking about refugees primarily from South Sudan because of the proximity to the border. Here in Gulu to Sudan is just a couple of hours by road, and obviously that's why majority of them are here, numbering over 800,000. But in total, Uganda is holding 1.2 million refugees, and these are the latest statistics from UNHCR. So Jane, coming back to you, looking for, before I come to Jane, Jan has something to say.
I think we need to check about the education. I think that a few months back, the government actually launched an education, either a policy or a manual or something that was going to include refugee issues. So there's actually an effort by the ministry to address the education problems. I haven't sat down to internalize it, but it was there. I saw the launch, I read about it a bit, but I think maybe it's not yet very well known, but I think something is being done. Well, I cannot speak for them, but
I think the point from the trainee teacher here is that even if there's a paper, it certainly has not reached the people who it's meant to. Jane, I was coming to you because UNHCR, they released a report, rather the UN, it was actually the UN Internal Office, which released a report, a damning report, showing that there was misuse of funds. Are there people who are benefiting from other people's suffering?
I think that goes without question. I think wherever there is conflict, there is somebody who benefits from the other person's suffering. Somebody finds an opportunity to benefit from the suffering of another group. So it's very possible, and since this is an authentic report, I can't stand to refute it. Certainly then, there was misuse. But what I have witnessed in the streets of Gulu town is a group of people moving around with merchandise like blankets, mats, utensils, even packed flour, torches, lights, selling that kind of stuff which was distributed in the settlement.
So how is it getting out of the settlements?
That is where the problem is. We've had the opportunity to talk to a few people, both from within the settlement. And the few people that we've talked to said that sometimes what they've received is not what they actually need at that time. So then, because of what was the need at the time, sometimes they dispense off, they sell off. And then they're also willing buyers. So I think that is how the things that they are given to help them live in a decent way finds their way out.
Okay, coming to the government official here, the only government official we have, corruption. I mean, it's being seen as a major thing. The office of your Prime Minister was implicated in this. How do you stem out this insidious behavior when it comes to, people who are afflicted?
For as much as you'd want something to be delivered to address the specific problems, you need to limit the number of hands such a thing you expect to reach the immediate person crosses to. And this has been a very big problem. You see, the monopoly in the government sometimes frustrates the implementations of much life-changing projects and programs. So technically that has to be a cause that every other person must accept. And from the leadership aspect of it, we are so critical in the roles that we are expected to play. We formulate policies, but we throw it to the implementers. Our duty is to monitor and also supervise. Under circumstances where certain things are not going right, it is within our mandate to rise up and say, this thing is not right. So can we bring to book those who are trying to violate this?
Okay, I'm just going to ask a question. Do you feel that your government is taking care of you in the same way that they're taking care of refugees? No? Are you shaking your head no? Just be honest. Let's just be honest. Hey.
All right, I'm going to be honest. Okay, I think the government has done something really great for the refugees, but still to the other extent, they haven't fulfilled it yet, because when you look at Uganda, as in, let me talk about the other parts other than Gulu, the other districts of Northern Uganda. When you go there, you find very poor people who won't even afford to buy salt of, I think, 500 shillings. But then when you watch news and listen to news, you hear the government has done this for the refugees, done that for the refugees. Then you find this common person really suffering. This person doesn't have what to eat. Her kids do not go to school, but the government is like, okay, I think we've got this school the refugees should go to and whatsoever. So it doesn't really favor me as, though we feel they should help them, but the other Ugandans should also be considered.
Okay, other Ugandans should also be considered. Anybody? Okay.
To me, I see that there is no big change because of the influx of the refugees. Simply because there are so many other NGOs that are also working together with the government to provide for these refugees. And to me, I feel we are not lacking much. And it's just as usual. And maybe if there are other organizations that may be there to help, to supplement what is already there, it will still be great. But for now, we're having NGOs like the World Food Organization.
The World Food Program.
Yeah, the World Food Program. And then refugee law projects. There are so many other NGOs that are looking after the refugees, now, apart from the government.
Speaking of NGOs, I really want to talk about the management of refugees. But somebody here had something to say?
Something to say.
You have something to say, please.
Again, I want to speak. I say our challenge here, since we come in Uganda, the price in market is cheap, but now everything is expensive for us, not for our refugee alone, but all of the Uganda who are travel for. Everything is going expensive.
Okay, so what would you like to see happen? You're saying that you've come here, you've been welcomed, but the cost of living is too high.
Because the total of people now increasing more. That is why I think like this.
Okay, so let me ask a question, guys. I don't know if you heard what she said. The lady who's been a refugee in this country says it's good that she's here, she's happy to be welcomed, but the cost of living is too high. Is this entitlement? Is this? Let's keep it real, guys. Is this entitlement?
There is high cost of living here, generally speaking. And I don't know, I've been trying to ponder over that myself, and there is something I seem to realize, that because Gulu has been hosting a number of foreigners, not only refugees, someone talked about the NGOs coming here. And because we have been made to learn trade, of course, when there is high demand for your commodity and you are the sole producer, tendencies of taking up the price and all those kind of things. So the people of these communities have learned to benefit a lot from the little they have. So there is a tendency of raising prices of, and there are other people who come from other parts of the country, other districts, who complain of the same. So if the victim is saying yes, there is high cost of living, I really agree to that, because it is, to some extent, I attribute it to the sense of commercialization that the local people have been taught to embrace.
Even the trade that came up between Uganda and South Sudan.
Sorry, please speak up.
Even the trade that came up between Uganda and South Sudan, it meant the goods, most of the goods that we would produce in the country would be exported to South Sudan for higher prices. That means the goods remaining would be low in reply to demand, so the prices would also go up.
Okay, so the conflict in South Sudan has affected the economy, whether or not the refugees would have come into Gulu.
Yes, it has.
Okay, fine. Now I understand that clearly. Jan, I want to come to you.
I think it's the views of the hosts that determine how the refugees are going to be comfortable, how they're going to be received. But and as she has said that, she's happy about being here. Her only problem are the problems that every Ugandan faces.
So she is as Ugandan as the Ugandan problem itself.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I also go hungry sometimes. I find that the price of ugali or something is really high. You always wonder about all these things. So in that sense, I mean, she might be the proof of integration, of togetherness. In other places, especially where they're younger people and then they see younger they feel, and I have seen it in other refugee settlements where some 2 or 3 young people kept telling me, they come here, they pass us, they give people jobs, and here I am struggling. I've spent 6 hours doing nothing, and over there these guys have something to do. Why don't they give me some work? So that feeling again might be a resource issue. Yeah.
Jane, I was coming to you because looking at sustainability, 1.2 million refugees, we're being told that on average, refugees and asylum seekers spend 10 years in their host nations. Is this something that Uganda can continue doing?
Yes, because the willingness is there. And like it has been said, in Uganda we first deal with the emergency, as it were, and then work backwards. For it to be sustainable, there's still lots of work that has got to be done in terms of policy, engagement, sensitization, and then actual implementation of changes that need to be addressed.
Okay, let me come back to the 2 ladies from South Sudan. What's your wish? Do you want to go back home one day, or is your life now here in Uganda and you've forgotten the past and this is where you want your life to be?
لا كان بلد أنا برجع لكن إذا سدنا جد مشكلة ساكنة.
What about you? What's your dream? What's your hope?
My hope, like me, in South Sudan, in Juba, even I don't know the life, my life all in Khartoum. When I come from Khartoum, I stay 1 year, they were coming, I'm coming here. I don't know the situation of South Sudan very well.
Wow, so you're actually from Sudan, not even South Sudan. So your journey was even longer to get to Uganda.
Yes.
And do you ever want to go back to Sudan, or do you want to live your life here in Uganda?
I will go back to Sudan.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the future of Uganda, the future of Africa, whose responsibility should it be to take care of those who are fleeing? Is it only the responsibility of Uganda or East African community, or should the Western world be involved as well? Are they doing enough?
Based on my opinion, I think it's everyone's responsibility to take care of the refugees. Because when we receive refugees, when we receive them in Uganda, we receive them as sisters, as brothers, as our family members. So my call is to everyone, to the whole community and to the world, that it's everyone's responsibility to take care of the refugees.
Everyone's responsibility. Maurice, I want to close with you because we've seen the pictures around the world, refugees and asylum seekers in other parts of the world being stopped at the border and told no entry for you. What lessons can they learn from Uganda?
You need to take precautions. You need to consider safety measures before you finally say no or yes of any other person coming in. Because I think most of these African leaders and the communities at large are well aware that much as you intend to offer that good heart of welcoming every other person, there are even those that have got varied intentions to move along with the most needy people to come destabilize or try to make a living, but on the other side of the coin. You get it? So my technical advice would be that whenever they're coming to settle, whether for life or for a given period, they should abide by such set policies. And they should also come knowing that they should respect the socio-cultural norms of the people that they are finding here. You get it?
I want to ask you this question directly because it's the second time you're mentioning behavior.
Yes.
Is this something that you've experienced? Have you seen refugees behaving badly?
Very well.
Tell me an example.
I happened to study in a school where there were international students, both the Kenyans, the Tanzanians.
Now he's brought in Kenyans.
The South Sudanese. There's a way they feel that they need to be treated exceptionally from the rest of the people. And that as well acts in contrary to the set regulations and the expected norms that they are required to integrate and really accord themselves with. One must know, by you expressing a heart of willingness and acceptance, it is much easier for me to say, yes, let's live this life.
Yeah.
Let's carry on with the journey together. But if you express to me, given your own behavior, that there must be a boundary between me and you, a no-go area, it will teach me a lesson on how best I should as well handle you. We need to accept the fact that at some points in time, we must start unlearning certain things, behaviors and characters that does not in any way benefit us directly or indirectly, given our current situations. But if you hold on to it and say, yes, this is me, it will be me. Much as I want to draw so close to him, still it has to be me. Minus respecting him, given his space, then we are bound not to realize the rightful required integrations. And I know this has always been a problem with even the South Sudanese themselves. These are key basic challenges that we must at all time accept, and even they themselves must at one point unlearn, so that we have a unanimous reintegrations and live a peaceful life.
Maurice, thank you so much. I believe that's the best place to wrap up this conversation. And we've heard it. Ugandans are saying our doors are open, but terms and conditions apply. We've been in Gulu, and as I've learned to say here, Dong Maber.